Alright, so I was looking through and trying to find some interesting stats because, quite frankly, there's a few days left before we have more preseason games, and then we probably should have plenty to talk about. Just trying to fill up the time until those games start. And so I was just looking through, seeing some interesting stats, and there was one incredibly interesting stat from the Raiders that really jumped out at me. It's right here. So if you look, when the Raiders run play action, this is Derek Carr's stats, not their entire stats. So I'm taking out the Marcus Mariota game. It's only Derek Carr. When they run play action, it's a little bit below average, actually. Only 87.6 passer rating and a completion percentage of 66.9. The completion percentage actually goes up when there's no play action, and the passer rating goes through the roof up, almost 20 points higher, which is the complete opposite of what you typically expect. Almost every team, whether it's a big deal or a small deal, to some degree, typically they do better when they run play action than when they don't. The Raiders are an exception. This is kind of an insane stat, I think, not just because it's weird that there's, a disparity, but especially with the fact that it's the Raiders who are doing this. And it makes me wonder, why is this the case? And especially with the Raiders, it's just bizarre because if you look at the Las Vegas Raiders, they are 10th in rushing percentage. So how often do they run the ball? If you do on a per snap basis, they run it the 10th most. So, top third of the league. And they only run play action 23rd most. So you would think, just logically, they establish the run. They don't overdo the play action. So you think you would have more success with play action, not less success with play action. So what's the deal? What's going on? Well, I have a theory, and it's just a theory, but I think that there is some real logic behind why this is the case in this weird scenario. So right here, for example, this is the play I want to start off with. So what's going to happen here is this is going to be man coverage. And this is kind of my biggest theory about why they have so much more success when they're not running play action. I think it's just because this is a team that's sort of uniquely designed to win when they're not running play action. While the John Gruden offense loves to establish the run, this team doesn't really have to. So this is a great example. It's a 3rd down and 8. It's man coverage. So this is basically the situation that John Gruden wants to avoid if possible. He doesn't want to avoid 3rd down and longs like this. He wants a 3rd down and 3 is fine. You don't want a 3rd down and 8. But what's interesting is that the Raiders are really good at this kind of stuff. So Hunter Renfrow is going to be running this route, and he's a really good man coverage beater. So watch what he does. Right when this play starts, you're going to notice that Renfrow, he's open. And again, he can do this consistently, and quite frankly, Derek Carr is not the kind of guy who's going to miss these types of throws. As long as there's a window for Carr to throw through, he's going to throw through it. Carr does make a perfect throw, and they pick up the 1st down right here. This one's another good example because they have not just one guy who's great against man, they actually have a second guy, and that second guy is their best receiver. Even if he isn't a wide receiver, he's a tight end. Darren Waller is a man coverage killer. He's a matchup nightmare. He is that guy that you put a linebacker on him, Waller will run by him. You put a safety on him, well, Waller can still run by him, and also now there's the size mismatch, which makes things even more difficult. This plays a similar play. It's a different, situation of this is a 1st down and 10, but, it's man coverage. The Saints are still prepared for a potential passing play, but watch what Waller does. Look, just immediately, he's open. He's wide open, and Darren Waller is the kind of guy who can beat man coverage consistently along with Renfrow. So, again, this is a team that they don't mind an obvious passing situation in terms of their personnel. That's totally fine for them. And as you see, Carr is going to make this throw. Waller gets stays open and makes the catch for a big gain right there. And that's something that they can do consistently. And I think that's a big reason why they have so much success when they're not running play action. But let's now go to the other side. Let's talk about some play action itself. So first, we'll start off with one like this, because, as good as they are at the other stuff, you would still assume, okay, but sure, Tennessee has receivers who can win in man coverage, but they still really excel through play action. Why don't the Raiders do the same? And to some degree, they do have some success with play action. The Gruden offense is kind of built around, we establish the run, a lot of short passes, and then every now and then we'll take a shot downfield, and oftentimes those shots are with a play action. This time is going to be a pretty traditional play action. It's a fake handoff. You're against cover 3 zone. You have a receiver run over the middle. The linebackers hopefully move in. You throw it over the top of them. Pretty simple. And like watch, we can't see the whole route because we don't have all 22, but you are going to notice that eventually this gets wide open. I mean, look, I'll stop it right here. Look at how open that was. No one was even near him. So that does happen. And again, it's not like they're awful at play action. I mean, an 87 passer rating, it's a bit on the low end, but it's not massively low. It's fine. You can deal with that. But I think the real issue is just something like this. This is something that I would honestly like to see the Raiders just completely take out of their playbook altogether. This is something you would see like Chicago do because Chicago had no talent and they had to try and figure stuff out. I don't want to see the Raiders offense only working if John Gruden can outsmart somebody. I want to see the Raiders offense work basically just sort of, take the shackles off of them and let them just go because they can make some plays. Because on this play, again, I can't see the whole coverage. I believe it's cover 2. It might be cover 3. I'm not exactly sure. It's hard to see from this angle, but I know it's zone coverage of some sort. And the exact coverage doesn't really matter because what's going to happen on this play is you see the route concept. It's going to be a quarterback rollout to the top of the screen. And so you have multiple receivers running over. You kind of have one deep, one over the middle, and one underneath. The whole point of this play is that New Orleans can't cover everybody. One player is going to have to cover the deep guy. Another player is going to have to cover the middle guy, which would leave the guy underneath wide open, or hopefully someone else gets open further down the field. But if you notice those two New Orleans players right there, this is a really easy task for them. I mean, both of the Raiders players who are going to run in that direction are essentially going to run right into the New Orleans defenders. So they're going to pretty easily be able to make this read and cover up those two deep guys. And at this point, the play isn't really working the way you want it to. When Carr takes the snap, none of the two deep guys are going to get open right here, and there's other New Orleans Saints players who are in the area of Darren Waller, who is the underneath guy. Now, you can still make that throw and maybe gain some yards, but the issue is basically it's a numbers disadvantage. When you only have 3 guys who are running routes, even if they are on one side of the field, it's not that difficult of a read for just one defender to get over, and now you have nothing going on. Quite frankly, I would much rather just sort of say, hey, let your talented players just make plays than kind of, it feels like you're doing a bit too much with something like this. And again, I don't hate a play like this in general, I just hate it typically when it's a team like the Raiders, and I think it should be used at least more sparingly. I'm not saying don't do it, just maybe use it less. Because Carr does make this throw and they gain 2 yards. But let's be honest, if Darren Waller was just on the outside and Carr just threw one up to him, what do you think the expected yards of that play is going to be? Probably higher than the expected yards of a play that they just ran that I showed you. So I would say that's my main conclusion about the Raiders offense is don't do some of this play action rollout stuff. We don't need that. If you want to run play action over the middle, that's fine. They seemingly have more success with that than the outside stuff. You don't need these quarterback rollouts. They don't have the success that just, having Darren Waller on an island does. If they start double teaming Waller, you can throw it to Renfro. Like, man coverage is fine. You can win against man coverage. Do you want to try to get him in zone coverage, make things a little bit easier on your offense? Sure. But you don't have to go crazy with it because their team is so talented with Derek Carr and Darren Waller and Hunter Renfro in man coverage that even if you get put in that situation, it's not the end of the world. So it's just an interesting scenario, right? Because it's so against what conventional football would tell you. Conventional football tells you you want to avoid a 3rd down and 8 obvious passing situation as much as possible. But with the Raiders, you don't really have to because they're good at it. They have Derek Carr, so you're okay, it's interesting. At least that's the conclusion I've come up with. Let me know if you have a different one. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.